Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And I give double honors to the elders, the apostles of Great Millstone and Ruwell. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel, brother, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. Real quick, I came across this article earlier, and it was a video that came out as well. It was a Jake woman basically going into how Biden promises to veto bill to abolish the IRS, which I don't know how he's gonna do that, but in the video, she was going into the fact that how they're getting ready to do away with the whole concept of the income tax and the federal tax and all this other stuff because they feel like people are being taxed to death, and the IRS is basically a private entity that's not owned by the United States. In fact, it's a private corporation, just like the Federal Reserve, private-owned banks. Okay, it's not part of the United States corporation, so to speak. And people have been catching on to that for some time. But, she was going down on how, well, this is a good thing, X, Y, and Z. But you got to understand, Esau is a tax. It's a catch to it. So he's not abolishing the IRS after this many years of stealing and extorting Americans for trillions of dollars, okay, over a course of time. This is not set up to loosen your bonds or to ease your oppression. No. In fact, this is the polar opposite because now they got, I believe, like a national tax. It's like a sales tax that's like a 30% on every $100 you spend, which is still usury. Okay, it's still usury and it's still unethical because the simple fact you're not supposed to be paying taxes on anything unless you got like a business or something, which is your profiting. Okay, most people don't understand what income is. Income is not something that you make on the job, but instead it's extra residual. Like if you own a business or you have like a particular what do you call it, like a profit or something, then they can tax that up to a couple of percents. But this is the same thing going back to Rome. Okay, they had what they call a tribute tax, when basically the people of the lower class had to pay the higher class, which was known as a monarchy. Okay, the 1%, which this country or this society, this system, it dwells on capitalism because they capitalize on everything and the money goes into the 1%, which is the elites. Okay, while the rest of the citizens are stuck paying the tab of oppression. Okay, because this is an oppressive system. So don't think you jakes out of hot water yet. Okay, because they was talking about reparations and X, Y, and Z and, this and taxes. And look, you niggas, look, you're just looking for a reason to continue your folly and to continue your wickedness. But you don't understand what this devil is doing, because what they're going to do under national tax, that's incorporating you into a broader spectrum of this new MOTB system. Okay, because the simple fact, like, I don't know how you're going to file an income tax when you have a C-HIP in you, or when they come over with this new system, how they're going to do it. We don't know the specifics of it. But it makes sense that a universal income tax and a UBI, which is the universal basic income, it makes sense that they will put everything under one conglomerate. So you can't be ignorant of Satan's devices. Okay, if he's not oppressing you in this way, he's going to get you in another way. Okay, so you jakes, man, you got to realize who you're dealing with. You're dealing with Esau, Edom, which is the devil that the Bible talks about. Okay, so it says Biden promises to veto bill to abolish the IRS and introduce one national tax rate if it passes. Okay, which I don't know how he has the authority to do it. A lot of information has been coming out on this guy Biden that he's been doing a lot of things illegally, which all presidents operate outside of the realms of their power. Like, he's not the only one. Okay, but a lot of information came out how they want to impeach this guy, because starting with the juice mandates, he was basically trying to go around people's rights on enforcing that shit on people, and people was revolting against it, man. Came out that he used to molest his daughter as well. So, with that being said, man, this devil, man, he's he's got a lot of dirt on him. But getting straight to it, it says right now the average price for a loaf of bread is approximately $1.87. But under a new law proposed by House Republicans, that price can go up to more than $2.50, and this would be the result of the Fair Tax Act, a bill proposed by around 30 House Republicans. It says House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has promised to bring it before the chamber for a vote, although he has not specified on what current conditions. It says the Fair Tax Act is the latest incarnation of an idea that has bounced around for more than a generation. But the proposed law will eliminate the IRS entirely with all its federal taxes, including income, payroll, okay, and its state corporate in its place. But you got to understand this: when you look at a check stub, see, and this is the thing, they eliminate income tax, but if you really pay attention to it, you ain't paying that much in federal taxes, man. Okay, you're paying more in Medicare, Medicaid, and all that other shit, which is basically money they stealing from you to fund the war and to pay off their pension, their penthouses, and you're basically keeping the rich in power with that. You know what I'm saying? They're not really funding anything that's probable outside of the war. Outside of putting the money in their pockets. But regardless of that, shit, you only paying, like, I look at my paychecks, man, they take very little out for federal income tax. Take okay, the federal income tax, you still gonna have state income tax. Okay, but let's just say if they take those away, you still are paying more in Medicaid and those other particular brackets and miscellaneous tax codes and so forth. You still paying. So okay, they eliminate a federal income tax. What about all the other tax? Now, if they just eliminate all that shit completely, then you will see a little bit more money on your paycheck. But in fact, you're still gonna be taxed, man. It says, it says that will eliminate the IRS entirely with all its federal taxes, which they should have been done away. You people in America, you pride on how free you are, but if you were so free and you were so hell bent on your freedoms, you never would have allowed us an illegal entity like the IRS or the Title 4D to operate within your country. Okay, you men that's all constitutionalized and all this other stuff, you would have been protesting these feds, and some people do. But you would have been protesting these particular color of law, because it's not really law, the child support systems and so forth that's been extorting men for billions of dollars for years. You would have been shut that shit down. But to prove that they have no intention on doing any way with this, because I believe I read something about it over a year. Well, now I won't say over a year ago, but within a couple of months ago, last year, that they was hiring these task force members to go around and start pretty much being on some Gestapo type shit, taking people's money if they owe taxes, etc. Armed guards coming to people's house. Now, I don't know if they proceeded with it, but that was also in the works, in the talks. Okay. But it says, with all its federal taxes, including income, payroll, estate, and corporate tax. But in its place, Congress will enact a flat 30% sales tax fee on all goods and services nationwide. See, that's another way how they get you. So even though they're not taking it out of your paycheck, you're still paying that 30%, because technically I believe income tax is like 30% outside all the other garnishments you may receive. Okay. But it says, though this proposal is unlikely to pass, it may be a good idea to match with a vetted financial advisor to free your tax needs, whatever. But it says the national sales tax are an idea as old as tricorner hats. But in the 18th and 19th centuries, modern income taxes didn't exist. Instead, like most governments, the U.S. funded itself mainly off tariffs and sales taxes. But permanent income taxes were authorized by a constitutional amendment in 1913. How ironic. Okay, the year that the Federal Reserve was established in Jekyll Island, then they institute what they call the income tax. How convenient, right? But it says the system we know today wasn't established until World War II, which America got into World War II to pretty much spearhead the dollar as the U.S. basically debo the dollar into currency, into power. That's what they got into. That's why they enter into the war at the latter half. Okay, because basically I believe at that time, you had the British pound. That was like the world's reserve currency, if I'm not mistaken. But then they deboed them way in there, and then they set up this fiat currency, which is known as the U.S. dollar, which was actually backed by gold at that time. But they took it off the gold standard during 71, which is where you have the fiat currency today, which is pretty much, that was the single-handedly act that destroyed the dollar, that pretty much is setting and paving the way for the market of beast systems. Because the fiat currency, okay, is basically set up to fail. Okay, it was set up to fall, But it says today no major economy relies exclusively on sales tax for revenue, but with a handful of small petroleum-fueled economies have no income tax, the main expectations to this rule are sub-jurisdictions like American states or cities. Okay. So anyway, scriptures say never trust thy enemy. But anyway, this is the book of Daniel 8, and I'm going to start at verses 25. It says, and through his policy, he should cause craft to prosper in his hand. And you got to qualify this. You're going to the time of the Greeks, Okay, during the time this is going into Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, you can read about that in First Maccabees, the first chapter. Okay, when basically he was setting up the concept of the NWO at that time, that all people should become like one with the Greeks, which was actually a vision of Alexander the Great. When you read about the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, and prior to that, before the dynasty broke up into the four generals, Alexander had a plan to bring a modern city and state under the inhabitants of the Greeks of modern living, like today. Gymnasiums, movie theaters, so forth, venues, places of comfort, so to speak. Basically, ancient world metropolises, which metropolis goes into mother city, which is the convenience for women. It says, through his policy, he should also cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he should magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, because this is coming in a peaceful sentiment. Okay, Jake looking at, oh shit, I ain't got to get taxed to death no more. Cool. But what you gonna do with that extra money besides be, just continue to be degenerates, man? Okay, which is gonna take your mind further away from Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Because remember, Esau does nothing to help you. Everything he does is to destroy you, man. Okay, it's to destroy you, and it's to pretty much put you in a late state of mind. And it says, in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, and he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he should be broken without hand. Okay, but the point I wanted to make was policy and craft, because this is a crafty move, because it seems like it's coming for the benefit of the people, but in fact, a 30% income tax, man, you're right, a sales tax. I mean, every dollar you pay, you got a 30%. I think it's on every $100 you pay, there's a 30% increase. So you get a purchase for $100, taxes up at $130. So that means you $200 purchase, you're paying double that. You end up paying $260 purchase for $200 worth of goods. So your income is still being wasted. You're still being extorted, man. Okay, and this is why you had what they call the Jewish Roman wars, when you had what they called the Sakari sect, when they rose up against the Roman authorities because of the taxation. Okay, because Jake was tired of being taxed. But, it didn't do any good because they didn't have the power in their hand. It wasn't meant for Jake to win that battle. Matter of fact, we can read that in Acts, the 5th chapter. Let's read Acts 5, and I'm going to start at verses. Let's start at verses 36. It says, but before these days rose up through this, and you can read about this in the Josephus too. It says, boasting himself to be somebody, for whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all as many obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. And after this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, okay, during the time when they invaded Jerusalem, man. You can read about that in the not the Apocrypha, but the Josephus as well. It says, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even with as many obeyed him, were dispersed. Okay, so that's the point. That was revolts in the ancient world because of the taxing. But what Yahweh Shai say, man, because they thought Yahweh Shai was coming to put an end to the Romans' authority at that time. But Yahweh Shai said, well, whose face is on the money? And he was like, well, render into Caesar's what Caesar. So technically, the shit don't belong to us. It belongs to him. His face is on the money. But it's still wickedness, and it's still oppression, man. Okay. Let's go from here to the... Matter of fact, let's read a little bit more of this. It says, however, the idea remains a darling of the American conservative movement. But over the past 30 years, it has come up over and over again. But part of the reason is historic, with many of the politicals right advocating a form of constitutional law rooting in a document 18th century form. But most of the reason has to do with the superficial fairness of the flat retail tax. But everyone would pay the same thing on everything purchased, no matter what. Because you know what, too, what I realized, too, and, this may be up for debate, but it's just something I kind of realized here and there, that when you go in certain areas, even then, when you in the checkout line, it seems like that, I don't know, man, this could just be in my mind. Sometimes I feel like Esau pays less when it comes to certain things. And I do know they break it up by jurisdictions, like counties and so forth. Like, you go out there to like what they call Overland Park is mainly rich Edomites. They'll pay a lower percentage on the tax because of the areas. But you go like on True Store, like in the inner city, Jake is paying overly in taxes. Because sometimes tax can fluctuate between 9.35% to 10%, depending on what area of the city you in. Like a lot of times, gas is more higher in Jake neighborhoods, but the farther north or east you go, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. But those are just things to really pay attention to. But it says the proponents argue what would be better than the 3,000-page tax code America uses now. But tax experts disagree, however, citing numerous problems with the national sales tax. But the first proponents argue the mere fact of a complication isn't an indictment of the system, but America is a large country with a $23 trillion economy, and its taxes will certainly be complicated to some degree or another. But what's more, underlining basis of the U.S. tax code is very straightforward. It says the more the household earns, the more it pays in taxes. Each year, the IRS publishes income tables to detail how much taxpayers are owed based on how much they make. And that's fucking oppression, man. Okay, that's straight up oppression. And that's usury. Because you ain't supposed to be paying no damn taxes, man. Okay? Exodus 22 and 25. It says, if thou lend to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer. Neither shalt thou lay upon him usury, man. That's in the law. So the hell, let's just say you're a single father or you're a working man, right? You're paying 30% of income taxes. You're Jake, so you already don't have any particular what they call those, the itemized deductions, man, when you was able to choose how many taxes you wanted to have deducted out. They call like elections or some shit. But basically, long story short, you don't have that choice anymore. And if you Jake and you make a certain amount of money, they automatically gonna enter you to a higher tax bracket because you're an Israelite. And then you got wage garnishments, you got child support coming out, and the list goes on. So there's no winner for Jake. That's oppression, man. Okay, Leviticus 25:37. Thou shalt not give him money upon usury, nor lend to thy victuals for increase. That's what Esau does. Okay, he give you money upon usury. Like you got what they call payday loans. You take out a fucking payday loan, that's a 300% a usury tax on it. So if you don't pay it back immediately, then you're gonna end up on their ass $1,500, man. That's why, man, hey, a lot of Jakes are in jams because they have bad financial choices. They was not giving the advice of how to account or to manage their money. Because Jake, they don't have discipline with their money, man. You know, which is actually essential. You know, we need to be teaching your young ones on how to manage money. You know, being on how to budget. Okay, because if not, you would make financial, like most Jakes, they can't get their own shit. Or most Jakes are just one fucking debt away from losing everything. But most Jakes that's up in age, prime example, I know a couple of Jakes, I ain't giving out names, but these are people I know personally within my life, you know, within my family and stuff like that, that they've screwed up so much, making ruinous choices financially to the point they can't get a house, they can't get a car in their name, they can't get an apartment, they're living off women. And this is the majority of these men. Why? Because they wasn't educated on the ins and outs of the money system, man. And that was done by design. You see? Versus women, you know, they kind of figure it out because most women go to school for accounting or they have particular business classes set up for women. But Jake don't have that opportunity, man. Okay, Esau knows that shit. All right. Proverbs 28:8, it says, he that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he should gather it for him that would pity the poor. Okay, right. So regardless of that, you're still gonna basically go in slavery. You're still gonna have to pay a tribute to us by us putting your ass in captivity because you've stolen everything, man. So, hey, brothers, fret not, man. This system is almost up. Yeah, it's tedious, is depressing, is discouraging. But hey, I think the Most High is getting ready to do something after this Passover service because the Most High he's really moving, man. He's really moving. He's doing things. Brothers have been afflicted. I myself have been going through some things in the body, man. That just came, you know, just been testing my patience and so forth. But we getting through it. But you know, the Lord took High Priest Ariah, and that's the spirit. I prayed for him Saturday morning. I prayed for him. I actually prayed. I said, hey, you know, through the spirit, how about you, how shall I bring this man back in his right mind, bring him back into the fold? And then I got news yesterday that he gave up the spirit. But you got these other bozos out here. Oh, High Priest Ariel was a false prophet. For one thing, nigga, if he's a false prophet, then stop using the 12-tribe chart. Second of all, your doctrine still revolves around the majority of the teachings that he taught. Third of all, he was a man that was up in age. He lived out his years. The man died at 82 years old. I mean, he lived a full fucking life. All right? So the Most High had mercy on him up to that point. But you got men out there that disgruntled, that's butthurt, just talking shit about High Priest Ariat. And do I know the man personally? No, I don't. But do I believe he's a man of the Most High? Yes. I Spirit had me to pray for him 2 days ago and found out he gave up the Spirit the same day. Okay, and we didn't wish death. We prayed the Most High put him in the right spirit, right state of mind. And look, he's in his right mind now. So you guys out there, man, that's talking shit about the men of the Lord that you don't even have a clue about, you're gonna reap those words, man. Okay, because when we send up prayers, you better believe the Most High answers them. For you fucking niggas out there, you talking about we not gonna make it to the Passover. You might not make it through the Passover, man. And if we don't make it, then it's the Lord's will we didn't make it. But that don't make none of us wicked, because you don't consider the fact that Isaiah 57 tells you that nobody considered that great men are taken from the evil to come, man. So all you niggas talking shit about the men of the Lord, starting with the apostles on down, hey, you got a hefty fate waiting on your ass. And you're going to be casted down before the congregation, and everybody's going to see how much bullshit artists you niggas really were while you talking shit about the men of the Lord. You bunch of fucking reprobates, man. And if the shoe fit, motherfucker, wear it. All right, last precept here. 1 Timothy 6:17. Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living power, who give it as richly all things to enjoy, man. So I'm going to end it there, giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Shai. And with that, shalom and a baba ball.